I'm finishing up a hunt here this morning on a kind of a drippy, droppy, rainy morning on December 2nd. And wanted to talk a little bit about scrapes. How do you find scrapes? What's the use of scrapes? Why are they important? So let's first be clear. What is a scrape? A scrape is basically, in my opinion, a whitetail community bathroom or check-in station. So it's not to be confused with a rub, which is whenever a deer, a buck specifically, rubs his antlers on a tree and rubs bark off of it to make a mark there. It's different than a scrape. Those terms get used interchangeably, and it's incorrect. So the places that I most commonly find scrapes are around trees that have lower hanging branches that are usually like a twig width or size, so not a huge branch but something small. And I typically find these around short oak trees. Specifically, we have a lot of oak trees in my area, so you can go around looking around on the ground forever, but the easiest way to find scrapes is find a short set of like oak trees or some sort of tree that has a flimsy twig type branch that hangs low enough that a deer can reach it with their head. Because what deer typically do, and what you'll see in some of the videos that I've showed in this video from my trail cameras, is you'll see bucks making scrapes under those short trees, first pawing at the ground, then they usually urinate into the scrape, and then lastly they will lick or rub their forehead on the branch above where they make the scrape. And what they're doing in those situations is they're just marking. They're leaving scent behind for other deer to know there was another deer here, or this specific deer was here, or there was a hot doe here, or there was a buck here who was cruising, or whatever the case may be, or there was another buck in this area that I don't want to be here, so I'm going to be on the lookout for him if you're a dominant buck. But they are obviously being in that scrape. They are rubbing their forehead glands where there's scent on their forehead on the tree limb above them. Typically you'll find that several of the twig branches are snapped or broken off where they rub their head. They may also be leaving scent behind from their scent glands down in their hooves, the interdigital gland, or off of their what I would call their ankles, where you see a lot of scent packed in there whenever you kill a deer and field dress it. So they can be leaving all sorts of scent and marks in those scrapes for other deer to come by and check and find. Now, just because you found a scrape doesn't necessarily mean you're guaranteed to see deer there and kill a deer there, but what it does tell you is they are possibly constantly frequenting that area, and there's a higher chance and likelihood that you're going to see that deer or a deer or several deer there who may come to check that scrape, use that scrape, or just be around that area. So your chances are heightened that you may see some deer, especially during the rut or during the pre-rut or post-rut, right in that area whenever they're breeding, whenever they're chasing does, when they're checking scrapes to see what deer have been there. There's a good chance you'll see some deer there. So it's always fun to find a scrape, I think, because it's cool to be able to have that evidence outside of a trail camera. It's cool to be able to have that evidence that you're standing near or where a deer was when they were there making a scrape and doing typical deer activity. So it's always kind of cool to find those. And then when you know where one is, you can come back and walk by it and see, are there fresh hoof prints in it? Are deer still using it? Is it still an effective, usable scrape that I could hunt by, or should I move on to something different? And if you want to be for sure, if you have the option or opportunity to set a trail camera up 20 yards from the scrape, 10 yards from the scrape, point it at it for a week or two, and see, are deer using it still regularly? That'll give you some good intel on whether you should hunt over it or not. Thank you for watching Farming for Whitetails. We'll see you next time.